I think the environment has been...
What we're saying is have a heart.
We've got to be able to regenerate our
There'll
company.
be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life. You can be bigoted about pigeons. I'm fine with that.
Okay, now we have three members of our panel here, which are debt advisory companies. We have Sunny, we have Regina, and we have, of course, Hui Min from CCS. I have a question here. When you negotiate on behalf of clients and when you talk to people, what gives you that authority that they will listen to you? Wouldn't they consider you a nuisance, or do you think that they see you as a help in finding an answer to the...
Yeah, that's precisely what we can't do actually. Unlike CCS, we are a private firm, so we are not able to represent and say, hi, I'm Regina from SG DebtBuster. I'm calling on behalf of, Prudence, and I want to talk to you about her debts. No, they don't, because they don't divulge information. They can't say how much Prudence is owing. No, she will just say that, okay, we have to talk to the debtors themselves in order to resolve the problem. So we see that happening, but we can't be like CCS because they are actually able to, and they are with the support of the banks as well. So
what's the difference then?
I have to qualify, we are not government body. Okay,
Don't be afraid.
No, I do not want to give the misconception.
Yeah.
Okay. We are a non-profit
organization.
organization.
Then who founded it?
Okay. The founding is a group of volunteers. All right. Okay. The whole idea of Credit Counselling Singapore actually was mooted by the state courts. All right.
Because of the growing debt.
Yes,
debt
because
problem.
in the late 90s, because of the Asian financial crisis, followed by the dot-com bust, followed by the SARS, so many people are either losing job or they get pay cut because company restructure and things like that. So when people have financial troubles, they cannot pay their credit, unsecured debt, their credit cards, their credit lines and things like that. Of course, one way to collect back the money is through going to the court to file suits against the individual.
So the court suggested that there was a need for such a body.
Yes, because there were many suits filed by the creditors. So the courts feel that, hey, come on, there must be an alternative way. A way that allowed the debtor to pay back, a way for the creditors to get back the money instead of going to the court, which is going to cause more stress and cost more money.
So what did they do? Did they approach, how did they approach you?
Okay, so the whole idea, they didn't approach me. So the state court came up with this, Mr. Richard Magnus, the former chief district judge.
Yes, he's a magistrate at the time, right?
He was a chief. He was a former district judge. Chief district judge.
Oh, okay.
So he tasked upon his district judges to look into this problem, and they started talking to the Association of Banks. They talked to the CASE, Consumer Association of Singapore. They talked to the grassroots organizations like the CDCs. So all this body get together and say, hey, what can we do and things like that. And then for some reason, ABS, the Association of Banks, together with Southwest CDC and together with the State Court, they invited a credit counselling agencies from the UK, their chairman, to come over and they organized a conference, invited the lending institutions, all right, to attend. So that was the first time. That was in November 2002, that the lending institution get to know about this idea about credit counselling. And then, of course, after that conference, and a group of us who were one way involved or another and through connections and things like that.
So you were a founder member?
Yes.
And what were you by training?
I'm actually trained in consumer affairs.
Who pays you? The bank?
Yes.
The creditor?
The creditors make a contribution to us.
Okay. So now what makes your company, CCS, your organization, different from a commercial organization, and why do they have a harder time?
Let me put it this way. For
job?
us, I have to say that I have a board that actually made up of quite a few bankers themselves. Okay, so my president, he was a consumer head. So of course, people still know him, and you know how the whole thing work. All right, and
so there's greater respect for you, for CCS.
I would say
greater.
The very fact that we are not for profit. Okay, we are not for profit. All right, and the other thing is that whatever we do, we will put up cases that so-called meet a certain set of guidelines that can repay within a reasonable time frame. Okay.
So what if it's a hopeless case that needs your assistance
okay.
more?
Now, when you say hopeless. All right. I mean, if it's hopeless with us, it will be hopeless with them
Most
too.
of the time.
You see, because the thing is that what is a hopeless case? A hopeless case meaning that the person has got no means to pay back, right? Hopeless because he cannot. Because
is there
to come
such
to
a
us
case?
is to pay. Of course, there are times people who can't pay back. Either they have no job, no income. There's no income. There's no way to pay back.
Yes.
Right.
Certainly.
Or they may have an income but very little income, but their debt size is so big they can't pay back. Reasonably
so what happens
speaking.
to those people?
Of
They
course,
go bankrupt.
Yeah, but if the person have tried all ways and all means and still cannot pay back, he has nothing to sell to raise fund. He has no way to borrow from a cheaper source like a friend, you know, who doesn't charge him any interest to pay back, so he can slowly pay back his friend. The last resort, yes, is to face bankruptcy. All right, and bankruptcy is not. I mean, it's really the last resort. It's the final last resort to honor one's debts. Because even if the person is bankrupted,
that's not honoring the debt, though. It's just to handle the problem.
yes, but the thing is that because as a bankrupt, you do need to make payment. So you are trying your best to make payment.
Okay.
So it's still honoring one's debts.
But
Although
there
it's
is a
not
forgiveness, a certain percentage of forgiveness.
No, it depends. Okay, if the person really so-called do all the things the OA asked him to do, OA official assignees, the one that administer the bankrupt's estate. If the person really do all the things the OA asked him to do and don't do things the OA asked him not to do, for example, okay, to make monthly payment is one of the things that a bankrupt has to do. You know, to honor one's debts. All right, and do not do things like, say, for example, you do not go and borrow more than $500 without telling the other party that you're still an undischarged bankrupt. Okay, this is just one example. Okay, so if the person behave himself, make his best effort payment, you know, he will stand a chance to be recommended for discharge. All right, so even though he may not have paid back 100% of what he owes, he stands a chance to be recommended for discharge for good behavior. He has tried his best. Okay. All right, but depending. If the debt, because of, if the debt size, unsecured debt size is less than $100,000, there is this scheme called Debt Repayment Scheme, DRS in short. If the person qualify under that scheme, the person will not be adjudged a bankrupt. He will be placed under the DRS, okay, to slowly pay back his debts.
Over what period?
Over a period of about 5 years.
That's not very long.
Yes, but the catch, if there's any, is that because it has to be initiated by a bankruptcy application, and bankruptcy application is a public record. So for people who do not want to have any public record per se, even though he's not a judge or bankrupt, he has to think carefully, does he want to take this route? So if he doesn't want, of course he can always work out a repayment proposal through, of course, with us or maybe some other organizations. Yeah. So then if he can put up a proposal through us and he can honor it, then he doesn't have to go through that process. But if he can't, then this is an option.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that option actually come to us because we help these clients to go through bankruptcy and to go through DRS at the same time, the debt relief program as well. What happens is that we give pre-bankruptcy counseling. We tell them what are the pros and cons and whether they are really suitable and whether they have considered that this is their last option. So if they
what do you, again I ask you, what do you charge for that?
No, we are an agent, so they call the high court people call us an agent or a consultant.
Yeah.
So what we do is we prepare the filing procedures for them,
and how
then
do you get
them
compensation?
out of they will have to pay us a certain amount of fee.
Is it a fee or is it a percentage?
No, it's a fee. It's a fee that we charge, and it's to cover everything until this person actually gets out of debt.
But you're a profit-making organization.
Yes, we are.
So give me an idea of the fee for helping somebody.
Okay, our fee ranges from like as low as $200 to as high as about $4,000, depending on the debt amount.
A total sum, is it?
Usually it's in installments. So we allow the debtors to pay, but it depends on certain situation. So
and does it depend on the amount of debt?
For the credit counseling side, yes, it depends on the amount of debts and the ability to repay. We will work out based on the person's income and the expenses.
So it can range from 200 to 4,000 depending on the amount.
And
that is the total sum that a debtor has to pay you.
Yes, correct.
And over what period?
Depending on usually it's like 4 to 5 months repayment period. Then it will add in the bank's payment as well. So the debtors, instead of paying a high minimum payment, they find it easier to pay us because It's with the bank's repayment.
You can't persuade the lenders to give you a share so that there's no pinch for the...
Correct. We are not in that position. That's why we work out with debtors. And
so when you talk to the lenders, when you talk to the banks and all that...
We don't talk to... that was the first one I was telling you. We are not able to talk.
They don't talk to you at all?
Not at all. So what we do is the debtors...
It's just advice. You tell them what the debtors want to do.
Yes, correct. And then we assist them all the way. So they have to cooperate with us very much.
Okay.
And like I said, there are probably some people who maybe they don't fulfill certain criteria under CCS, and they came to us because as a private firm we are not so stringent in terms of certain criteria, and when we assess the case we think that these are cases that we have done before and it's possible, we will take on and make sure this person gets out of that.
How about you, Sunny? Because you give advice under the Association of Muslim Professionals. Are you a not-for-profit organization?
Exactly, not-for-profit.
So you don't have the same problem as a commercial firm?
No. When people come through our doors, basically we give them a roadmap depending on what they have. Either it's a financial institution, a money lender, or illegal money lender debt. And we tell them this is what you need to be doing, this. And almost always when it's a financial institution debt, we send them over to CCS because we believe CCS is the best place and it's the best position to handle it. Albeit, as Hui Min has pointed out, some cases may not be able to accept. That's where it gets back to us, and we look into other alternatives. Can you sell your house? Can you rent your room? Can you rent your apartment? Do you have other sources that you can borrow from? And eventually, it may even come to a point whereby they have to declare bankrupt. We do exactly the same thing. We give them the pros and cons and why bankruptcy is either a good thing for you or not so much a good thing for you, so on and so forth. We also sometimes, when the debt is is limited to maybe say one financial institution, we may even help them draft a letter whereby they sign on it and they send it to the institution. So we have cases whereby they send a letter in to say, can I pay $50 a month over the next 2 years because I'm facing this situation, so on and so forth. And fortunately, the institution came back and said, yes, we accept your proposal. And that's called a DIY, direct to the institution. But it's very rare because you really have to have only 1 or 2 banks in order to do that. When you have 5, 6, 7 banks, I think the CCS is probably the best place to go.